I'm trying to pull up the IMDb so that I know who people are, but then again, I'm pretty sure they're all just like king
Yeah,
and
kind of.
person. Bringing some weird energy off the back of the House of Gucci trailer.
Yeah.
I'm very...
Oh, I mean, this doesn't not have that vibe. Very wooey in the woods.
Very woo-woo. Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show, your twice weekly pop culture podcast where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. And as always, this is a spoiler show, so you have been warned. Before we get going today, I was going to shout out our the patrons and our patreon.com/so I'm watching this show. If you want to help support the channel, we're trying to get better at that stuff. We also could use likes and subscribes because they help us get into the algorithm, and we're trying to get monetized. We're trying to make money.
Also, if you become a patron, your name comes up on the screen at the very end of the episode. Very exciting.
And you'll get access to some stuff. We have a back catalog. We're currently watching season 7 of RuPaul's Drag Race. Yep. And we have some ideas for some stuff that could be coming
maybe
presently.
Some stuff with Rachel, too. If you are a longtime fan and listener, our friend Rachel's here. So we have been doing some stuff with her, too. So, yeah.
Like, subscribe, tip, and all that. So
hey.
On today's episode proper, we're going to have a conversation about the...
You sound like Kermit the Frog.
David Lowery movie, The Green Knight.
And what do you hope to gain from facing all of this? Honor. That is why a knight does what he does. Are you ready?
This is, let's go ahead and read. A 2021 American epic medieval fantasy film, written, edited, produced, and directed by David Lowery. The film stars Dave Patel, Alicia Vikander, Joel Edgerton, Sarita Chodroy, Sean Harris, Ralph Ineson, and I'm going to add Kate Dickey in there. It is based on the poem of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. So, we are dealing with Arthurian legend.
Mm-hmm.
We have covered Arthurian legend. I won't say extensively, but we've done Merlin, we've done Cursed, we've done a few things. If you want to check out our back catalog, soimwatching.com.
Merlin was better than Cursed.
Well, we got, how can I forget Excalibur?
Yes, we did also do Excalibur.
This and Excalibur are light bedfellows, I would say.
Sure. Very light, I think. Although you're right, this does have a 70s what the fuck is going on vibe. I'll allow it. Also, I keep forgetting we need to do the Mists of Avalon.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the thing with Arthurian legend, at least as far as my takeaway from it, is that it is vast and unwieldy. You don't really know what version you're going to get. There's different takes. In some versions, a character is one character. In some versions, a character has been broken into 3 characters. Is it Morgan Le Fay? Is it Morgana? Yeah. Are you dealing? Is Nimue?
Is it incest? Is it not incest?
Because we deal with that in this movie, and we're not given a clear answer. The end. Oh yeah.
So what husband Will said is that he wished the movie had held our hands a little bit more. Like, not too much, but just a little bit more.
So this is like watching an opera.
Okay,
you can,
I like that comparison.
In broad strokes, you can sort of understand what's happening,
yeah, okay.
But the nitty gritty, it's sort of like,
But also, I would argue there is very little nitty gritty in what was initially an oral myth.
Well, so that's what I was initially getting to, is there is one written account of this story.
Yeah.
This is not, to my understanding, all of this is my sort of like millennial Wikipediaing and all that, but my understanding was there's one written account of the story. We don't know written by who.
Yeah.
And it's involving characters that are otherwise very well established and documented.
Yeah.
A lot of times with an opera, you're given a program with a paragraph or two explaining the first act, the intermission break, and a paragraph or two explaining the second act. I don't necessarily know that I need that. Will and I were talking before you came in, and I was like, I'm not the kind of person that needs my art rock solid, ironclad, spoon fed to me.
Sure, of course.
I would, however, like to have a general sense of what we're doing and why. I didn't 100% get that from this movie. And it's also the kind of thing where it's like, I imagine I will see this movie a minimum of 2 more times. It feels like an undertaking to sit down and watch it again. But,
it is 2 hours and 10 minutes long, just so everyone's aware.
And it feels like 3.
I disagree. It did not drag to me at all. I
checked my watch.
Every time I felt like it was about to start dragging, something else happened. Something else like big happened.
Well, it's very compelling, but I never fully had the sense of why. There was a part of me that I was sort of like, okay, but what are we doing? And that's where I'm excited to get into this conversation, is I think we're going to parse it ourselves. And so I am coming off of a first watch only.
Yeah, same.
And this is the type of thing that I think upon repeat viewings, like for instance, a movie like The Fall, which is again somewhat like this, I'm still getting stuff from that movie.
Of course.
So I would imagine that I could be like 10 viewings into this and be like, oh, duh. The halo means God. You know what I like? Something to that effect. Like,
that's the easiest one. No, of course.
That was for instance.
That is also like one entire day's worth of your life to watch this movie 10 more times.
So I'm going on just a first viewing. So it is stunning. It is very
so beautiful,
but it's not pretty. There's a distinction.
No. I mean, it's very Middle Ages. It's dirty and like, but
I wouldn't call it dirty. It's dark.
But it's filmed so stunningly, and there is a lot of green, and then he's got his like yellow, and also just like, let's be honest, put all our cards on the table. I got to look at Dev Patel's face for 2 hours and 10 minutes. That was pretty sweet.
So there's an elephant in the room there. I somewhere had it in my head, I either read this or misconstrued something, that he was full frontal naked in this.
Oh.
I was bated breath waiting.
No.
And there's like, I don't know, 70 potential places it could have been.
There are so many. Even if it was like,
it's expounding. Like the closer to the ending we get, the more it starts happening.
Yeah. The more nude he is more often.
And I'm like, this is it. It didn't happen.
No.
I don't know why I thought that. I don't know if I misconstrued something or somebody lied.
It's possible it just didn't make it in the final cut.
There's a very nice shot of his male midriff, though, which is a thing.
Yeah.
For
Dev Patel is a hot person.
Yes. I'm not going to get into that. That sounded more ominous than I'm into. No, I think he's gorgeous. Okay. I was just gonna. I mean, he's not necessarily. No, I think he's aged into it better.
Yes,
I think he's far more classically handsome now.
Well, okay.
Than he was as a younger person.
Sure, he also had that terrible haircut in Slumdog Millionaire. So, like, what are you gonna do? But yeah, I agree. He's aged into it. I think he looks amazing.
Very charismatic.
And the hair.
Mm-hmm. But I found it to be pretty captivating, especially the first act. I was like all in the entire time they were in Camelot, and it was a depiction of Camelot that, where not what I would have done, I didn't feel like it. Nothing about this felt uninspired.
Well, it also,
nothing about this felt like it was phoned in.
It was also like a waning Camelot, which I thought was intriguing to do, like a Camelot on decline, because like Arthur and Guinevere are also in decline.
Well, that is the conundrum of Camelot, is that it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
you can't have perfect peace forever.
Yeah. And so that entire scene in like the throne room, the instinct to hire Sean Harris and Kate Dickie as Arthur and Guinevere.
Yeah. Bold.
Oh, in particular, the Kate Dickie.
Mm-hmm.
I am apparently like a stan covers.
Given how fucking batshit bonkers her character is in Game of Thrones, you really did come at that guns blazing.
She's not a beautiful woman, but she is a striking woman.
Yeah.
Ugly old thing. Yet it has a certain appeal. The Lysa Arryn of jazz.
There's a scene where she reads this letter from the Green Knight, and she goes into like a demonic possession.
Well, like Ralph Ineson's voice comes through her.
And just the way, the eyes, the hair, the crowns with the halos.
They were so good.
And it seems so simple. Like a part of me is like, haven't I seen this a million times? And I haven't.
Like part of you is so pissed that you're like, that's such a simple idea. I can't believe no one else has ever done it.
They look like religious icons.
I mean, they are. They are meant to be. Well, because this is like, Guinevere is the one who made Arthur be Christian in some tellings. And so that's what's interesting to me, is that it also feels like Christmas is like new to most of these people. So that it's like
the Christmas of it all was very...
It's still very exciting because it takes place during Christmas and they're all very excited about Christmas. And I thought that was very interesting.
So basically, Gawain is... He's Arthur's son, is he not?
This posits that he is Arthur's nephew. Arthur says, "You are my sister's." No, but Sarita Choudhury does not play Morgana or Morgan Le Fay or anything.
I thought she did. His Gawain's... So depending on the version, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I was like, he is both Arthur's son and nephew.
Yeah.
Depending on which version you're reading. Because I thought she was Morgan Le Fay. I mean, she was a witch, so...
She was a witch. That's true. Still creepy then. Towards the end, because I was reading like synopses of the poem and everything, and evidently the second Alicia Vikander that we meet, the one with Joel Edgerton, is like also a witch. She's Morgan Le Fay in the text, and the whole thing has been a trick in order to get him to like prove himself on this quest.
So she's his mother?
No, not in this.
Okay.
But in the like text, the wife, Joel Edgerton's wife.
Essel?
Yeah, no.
Or
Essel
lady.
is the
serf.
Yeah.
Lady.
So that's what I saw, is that like that one that's in the castle is his mother. Or not, is not his mother, is Morgan Le Fay, a witch who is playing a trick on Gawain of no relation to her.
Oh, so his mother's not in this.
Well, I think not in the text. She's in this.
I'm further away from it.
Yeah. Again, I don't know. And
I was going to go a little
too
bit,
many versions.
I was going to go a little bit more chronologically, like with the story. But so there's a banquet, and Arthur's nephew Gawain is there. So are we in agreement that Sarita is his mother?
Yes.
Okay.
Her credit is literally mother.
Well, this says mother / Morgan Le Fay. So.
Oh well, all right. Fuck me, I guess.
So I was like, that's the mythology.
Sure, yeah.
Well, and that's where I started, because again, there's different versions, because there's Morgana in some versions who is different. There's Vivian in some versions who it's like one character can be splintered into.
Angelica Houston in The Mists of Avalon.
So his mother, Morgan Le Fay, does magic.
Yes.
The Green Knight shows up.
Yeah. I assumed prompted by said magic.
I didn't.
Okay.
But they're happening concurrently, so that makes sense.
That letter that Kate Dickey gets and reads aloud is what she was writing.
Yeah, there you go. I assumed the Green Knight, I mean, this is very like metaphor illusions 101, but I assumed the Green Knight was nature. Especially when you look at it as like Camelot being one of the earliest versions of society, or like, I guess not earliest, but like what it could represent.
Also, almost as soon as Gawain leaves the castle and is traveling, you can see them basically deforesting an entire area in order to supply the castle.
The story is that the Green Knight posits a challenge, a game, and you can strike him and then he'll go away. And then a full year later, he gets to strike you the exact same way. Mm-hmm. And that felt very man versus nature to me.
Sure.
Because nature will always win, no matter.
Sure. It is also so thoroughly and clearly stated that I literally cannot believe that Gawain chopped his entire head off I was like, ah. And even Arthur was like, don't do it.
So did he just genuinely think that if, like, is this because that's the other thing. And when you're dealing with stories like this and stories this old, they're wild. They're plot driven. They're not character driven. And it's good luck, good luck sort of carving a 3-act structure.
Sure.
For a mainstream blockbuster audience. But I guess maybe the logic is Gwen's like, well, if I kill him, then I win. And there's not even a chance that he can do this, that he can come back. And that's willfully defying the fact that he is magic, that he is a tree.
Yeah. It's also willfully just like disregarding the rules and everything he just set out, and Arthur's advice that says, remember, it's just a game. It's not supposed to be that intense and serious and crazy. And so that's why Arthur shakes his head after, because he's just like, oh man, fucking what did you do, bro?
Because even Merlin is sitting right there, sort of. Yeah. So the year passes. He goes out on this quest.
Kind of cool, the passage of the year where they just keep showing this like puppet show kind of thing. I kind of liked it.
I found it terrifyingly dread-inducing,
well,
but
sure. But it was like
kind of cool. Was nowhere near the top of my list.
It was a neat little puppet show.
I found it to be a dreary phantasm that will haunt my nightmares.
God, man, you and Rachel really took this on board in a way that I feel very like Joey and Friends. I like it.
I did at no point have I said anything remotely consisting of I did not like it. I want to pull the Showgirls quote, because when we were sitting there when it was over, and you're like, did you like it? And I was like, did I like it? Yeah, I liked it.
She's talking about getting raped at the boat show. Unbelievable.
I did a little bit feel assaulted. I'm not gonna lie. And he goes on this quest. We meet characters. I don't fully understand the guys who rob him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand the point of that, because is it that he shouldn't trust people? Because he didn't. The guy really worked for his trust. And I didn't fully understand the shot of him tied up and the camera spins around and comes back. It does a full 360 and comes back to his like body, to like skeletal bones. Yeah. And then it comes back around and he's like flesh again. So it's like, an obvious interpretation of that is the passage of time again. I don't.
Just what could have happened if he didn't fight and try to get out.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that's
very. That's the thing is, like, I think also an issue with the interpretation of this movie, because no one in our theater liked it, and they were not shy about it on the way out.
Oh, really? We waited.
No.
Oh, what happened?
There was this one guy walking away, and he literally was like, "This is the worst fucking movie I've ever seen in my life," mumbling, but loud enough so that you knew he was hoping someone would be like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And the guy that was doing the survey out front was like, "I hope your night gets better, I guess." And he just was like, "Fucking so stupid. This movie is the worst thing I've ever seen. I can't believe I spent all that time." He was just like, I was like, all right, man, you got to let it go. But that's the thing I think is part of the problem with interpreting this movie is I don't think a lot of it needs interpretation. I think a lot of it is way more surface level. I think there's obviously symbolism. I just think that the things that you see are the things that happened. You see. And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I do desire a little bit more thought to.
Okay. I don't think you can claim there was no thought put in this.
Well, to my narratives. Like, I wish it meant something.
Again, though, this story doesn't really mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
In its like text. Arthurian legend stuff doesn't really mean anything. It's Homer and the Odyssey, it doesn't really mean anything. It's just like a series of events that happen.
Well, and also because the reason why the Odyssey means something to me is because I was socialized with it.
Yeah.
So it, like, when you grow up knowing a story, it's a little bit different than having an abstract story laid at your feet in adulthood.
Sure, but it's also, they had to work overtime to make Merlin have a through line. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The miniseries Merlin. And so in that sense, like, that is satisfying because it has a beginning, middle, and end. Mm-hmm. And we like watch these characters age and everything. something like this, I think, is so much closer to the text where it's like, he got challenged, he did the thing, he went on the journey.
There's almost always a moral, though, and I'm not fully sure I understood the moral on the first viewing.
That's the other thing is like this, the ending of this is
open.
Well, it is also not very consistent with the text, according to the limited researching I did last night after we got home.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, yes, far more open-ended.
He acquires a fox friend at one point.
So cute.
Very cute. Very interesting. Yeah. Again, I could imagine gaining more of a sense of understanding and accomplishment the more time I spend with it.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, what I saw is that this fox befriends him. He accepts the friendship. And then at the gate of the Green Chapel, the fox warns him not to go. To which that's where I'm like, so, because for me, I'm like, I feel like the moral of the story is that he has to follow through.
Yes. Yeah. So it's the honor of it.
So then what is this spirit warning him not to? Should he have listened to the fox? Well,
I don't know. So that's the thing. That's one of the things, too, that was interesting to me, especially about the like sort of a double ending that we had, is that I wonder where the narrative split, essentially. Like, where do we start having the future where he becomes king and everything? Do you know what I mean?
It's the him running away because there's no dialogue in that entire.
Okay, in which case then I don't know about the fox, because it could just be that the fox is like, you'll die if you go there. But then I was like, what if the fox is like, no, you'll be overthrown as king later?
Okay, so the entire time, buckle up, strap your tits in. The entire time I was thinking about that Bible story with the like wealthy man, and he has 3 slaves, and he gives each slave like $1,000, and he doesn't tell them what to do with it, but he tells them that he's going to check back with them later. And the first slave just hides it. He just saves it, assuming that that's what he would want him to do with it. Mm-hmm. The second slave,
so that it'll still be there later,
okay. so that he can attest for it, or like be like, see, I saved it for you. I did what you wanted. The second slave, I forget, does something, maybe gambles and loses it. I don't know. The third slave basically uses it to start a business and makes a shit ton of money. And the end of the story, he's the winner. And the reason why it boggles my mind is because I would have done what you asked me to do if you told me what you wanted.
Sure.
But I was supposed to figure out what you wanted. And it's also inconsistent with the other morals in this book.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at. What was this game? And in that regard, you could argue that he was correct to behead the Green Knight. Mm-hmm. It's the equivalent of, to tie this into Drag Race All-Stars 6, which we're also covering. I mean, they vote for who they're going to send home.
Sure.
If you send home your strongest competition, is that cheating or is that winning?
Yeah.
So that's where I was getting confused and frustrated watching this, is there's so many places in this story where it could have gone a different way. And I was having a hard time identifying which was the right way. And maybe that is the point of it, is that there's not.
Yeah, I mean, even I would say even the sort of double ending lends itself to that, where it's like there's really no right decision in something like this. Do you go and you let yourself be beheaded, or do you try to reason with this forest chaos entity?
Do you do, which again, if that is nature, then that makes perfect sense, because nature will always win.
Right.
But it's like, I mean, do you do the honorable thing? Because Ned Stark did the honorable thing. Yeah. Is that winning? Is that... And
yeah, especially in that case, because it's like you won, but no one else knows you won because the information didn't come out.
And the insistence in these extreme life or death stakes that it's only a game is like infuriating and hilarious.
Yeah.
And there's just like, there's several of the little vignettes. I found the scene with the giants to be breathtaking. Yeah. Utterly breathtaking. I haven't a clue what it meant.
I see. Okay, so I was thinking you were going to really enjoy all of those moments of like magic that were in this movie. I don't think there needs to be an explanation. It's just the old ways still. They're the druids,
but
maybe,
it should
that built
represent
Stonehenge.
Something, which and maybe I'm not there yet. Maybe I don't. But there was a part of me like, because even the wolf or the fox, because he talked to them and they didn't talk back.
Yeah.
But then the fox did, and they responded to the fox. So is it like, I mean, you just said they're the old ways.
Yeah.
The fox, is a
bridge between.
an attaché or an in-between or whatever, which that totally, completely makes sense for me. Weirdly, my favorite part of the movie, one of four. I actually really liked this.
I liked it.
I really did. But I have a hard time. I have a hard time looking at it as a narrative.
I don't think it is one.
It's a music video. It's a screensaver. It's a coffee table book. It's mashed together with poetry and philosophy.
Okay,
and like,
so I was like, that feels like diminishing of this work of art.
No. The Winifred scene.
Yep.
Was it was also the most gratifying from a narrative place, because he finds this house, and I like made a joke where I was like, okay, seriously, if this were me, I would have been like, it's mine now. I would have just lived in the house.
My house now.
And it's Erin Kellyman, who we have mixed feelings about. Sometimes she's great in this.
We had mixed feelings about her in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I didn't love her in Solo.
I don't even remember her in Solo. So, but she was so good in this.
Beautiful.
And stunning. Every time she turned her head, her like neck, like this part of
and
her
the
neck,
hair,
ugh.
She was gorgeous. And just the weird feeling, the sense of dread I got when she brings him to lake and was like, I need you to get my head from the bottom of the lake. And I was like, she's a specter. I was like, oh, like we're watching The Haunting of Bly Manor all of a sudden. And it was just like, it was bone chilling, but also like dreamy, like just beautifully like.
Well, and it was also very sweet. And it's like one of the only moments of levity in the movie where like he is able to do something positive and good. Although he does fucking just smash her skull into the ground more than once. And I was like, dude, like her fucking jaw is at the bottom of this river still because you couldn't keep it together.
I also loved the scene with Joel Edgerton and Alicia Vikander, or the segment rather, having a clue what it meant.
Well, that's where it's like, in the text, it's like a test for him. But also, Joel Edgerton says a thing to him, and he's like, whatever you receive in this house, I will ask that you give it to me before your departure. And I was like...
Your brain goes to three places, each more psychosexual than the previous.
Well, and then Alicia Vikander, like 5 minutes flat, is jerking him off. And I'm like, are we gonna see something here?
Because the first place my mind goes to is, I thought she was Joel Edgerton's daughter.
Oh.
And so I was like, he wants to fuck his daughter.
No.
I don't understand the purpose of the dual roles for Alicia Vikander.
I mostly think it's just sort of like, what if she was his lady? This is what she would be.
I overwhelmingly prefer the second.
Well, she's prettier. Alicia Vikander has this, like, Essel has this terrible short hair.
Bringing her best, Queen Amidala. Like, it was
Yeah.
very stunning. I didn't understand the blind woman. Did they even acknowledge her?
They did not acknowledge her, except for he like acknowledges her after she finishes him off, and the old lady's still in the room. I don't remember now. When I was looking it up, the old lady was something, but now I don't remember what it was.
I didn't understand that on first viewing, and I didn't understand the significance of the belt because his mother gave it to him and said it would protect him, and then it was stolen by the
Ruffians,
like, rapscallions, and then Alicia Vikander as the lady made an identical one.
Well, if we're working under the assumption that it is his mother essentially playing tricks on him the whole time, then maybe she just like had it again and gave it back to him. But then that's gross. Why are you jerking your son off?
I mean, that...
You're like, that's the least of my concerns.
It's not that it's the least of my concerns, but I'm like, the layers that could mean at that point. I mean, it's like what that could possibly mean is endless.
Well, because at the beginning, before he leaves, they're like sewing runes. She like sews a rune stone into it as well.
Well, because it's like, I mean, if you want to make it maternal, the fact that it's like this, it doesn't represent, your parents' protection? I mean, does it represent having to like get rid of that to go out into the world and inevitably dying? I mean, it like there's just so many places that we could go, and I wasn't even frustrated. I was enjoying it, but I feel like because of what we do, I feel like I'm meant to explain it to you.
No,
and I
no.
don't. I got nothing. Because
this is more along the lines of a David Lynch thing, where it's like it means whatever you want it to mean, and David Lynch is never going to tell you.
David Lynch and Terry Gilliam and Tarsem had like an orgy, had like a threesome.
That's a lot.
So I know when you're dealing with old timey stuff that like a man kissing a man does not always mean romantic or sexual, but
it did in this.
What was that?
It did.
Yeah.
Joel Edgerton, I think, wanted him.
So he wanted him to jack him off? Or, I mean, because the thing is, like, Alicia Vikander, when she's jacking him off and then he comes, she was sort of like, like, you didn't pass the test. And I'm like, what's the test, Mama? What's the test?
She literally goes, you are no knight. And then she walks away and leaves him literally holding it.
And the poor Rachel, she must have an ulcer from...
We've really been making her watch a lot of stuff. I thought she was going to like it.
I did. Literally, when I sat down at Hangry Bison, I was like, oh, you're here? I was like, I didn't think you were coming. And
my mistake.
Because nothing bad befalls an animal, but they sure imply it could at several different places in this movie. And so, yeah, he gets to the Green Chapel, because that's also my favorite part. He gets there and then has to wait a full day for the Green Knight to even wake up. And then the Green Knight wakes up and was like, huh? What's all this then? And then he explains to the Green Knight, oh, I have to come here. It's been a year. You have. So it's almost as if like if he had just ignored this whole thing, the Green Knight wouldn't have even remembered.
But it's about the honor.
Mm-hmm.
He has to honor and finish the game. Yeah. So
he prepares himself, he steadies himself, and the Green Knight is really put out by his like cowardice, by his fear of, well, that's not cowardice, but fear.
He flinches and then he like rolls out of the way and then he like tries to bargain.
And he runs away, and that's where we see this whole segment of him becoming king. I didn't understand, again, the Alicia Vikander of it all, because he has a baby with her and then they take it from her.
She's a whore.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. The opening scene now. I get
and then that scene in the woods where she's like, could I be your lady? And he just is like,
okay.
He doesn't ever answer her, but she's like, wouldn't that be nice? And no, she is absolutely a whore.
I get that. I get that.
So they take the baby away from her and he raises the baby. And then the boy goes to war and is killed. And yeah.
And then he
also
turn on him, I guess, because it said war.
He also throws over Alicia Vikander for a pretty little white wife. And I was like, ah! I was like, this is so bad.
She was very pretty, though.
She was super pretty, but...
And then that's sort of revealed to be like a vision or a what if. And then it cuts back to the Green Chapel. And...
He has to say something else and he's like, okay, I'm ready now. And then that's when the knight is like, that's all I ever wanted. Wipe your tear.
But then it cuts to black and we hear the axe.
Yeah.
So the implication is that he follows through, but we don't know.
Who knows?
So, and there, shockingly, because we made a joke about the scene at the end of the credits, and there is one, the child he has with the second wife, the pretty white girl, you said, there's a scene of the little girl, like a toddler, crawling on the floor over to the crown, and she picks up the crown and puts it on her head, and that's
it.
Mm-hmm. Will was really, and I actually think he meant this. I don't think it was a joke. I mean, it was a joke, but Will really wanted her head to catch on fire.
Oh, God.
Because we start that way.
Sure, yeah. It waits like a visual. Yeah, It's pretty good. I want to say, I think probably my favorite scene in the whole movie is the entire silent thing of him. The montage of him becoming king, and then like, it's like, they're being overthrown at the end. And I liked that whole sequence. I thought it was very cool. Really well done, well shot. You know, I liked all of the, like, the beats in it. I liked you know, how it ended and everything with him just like being there totally alone at the end, waiting for this to happen. And then he pulls the sash out and like turns to bones.
Oh, God, I had forgotten. Right. That whole thing. Well, his head falls off because all I could think of was that
just his head falls off.
Scary stories to tell in the dark, the green ribbon, which traumatized me.
Really?
When I was a child, when I was 6 years old, I was afraid of chokers.
It made me want to wear ribbons around my neck.
Traumatized.
I was like, ooh, a ribbon sounds nice.
Well, remember, I was very, very, very sensitive to any form of violence against women.
Yeah.
And so the thought that a woman's head could fall off, I like couldn't handle that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that traumatized me. Oh, yeah, I completely forgot about that. Because she like has the, oh yeah, man. I enjoyed this experience. I enjoyed looking at something that made me think about what it could mean. You know, the score was heavy on the A24 vocalizing. That is at a place where it's starting to feel a little passé. I think,
in fairness, I think we've only mostly seen those A24 movies. Like, I think there are other A24 movies that don't do that.
Yeah, no, but I mean, saying that thing, I think I think we will reach a point in several years where we'll be like, oh God, do you remember in 2020 when everything was the
We're reaching a saturation point, is what you're saying. Okay.
Because it's all over The Witch. It was all over, what was it in Portrait of a Lady on Fire? I don't remember. But there's
but
several.
That was like nicer. That's not as intense.
There's several, especially in horror, of just like shrieking choirs vocalizing that it's like, okay, I'm pretty solid there. I don't mind looking at something that I like the way it looks and wondering what it means.
Sure. I also think I liked it a lot because it is not like anything else I've seen. This was very different and very cool. And and
like I said, the things that reminded me of were David Lynch, were Terry Gilliam, were Tarsem.
I got the most Tarsem out of it, like visually especially, but
I thought the Giants were very Terry Gilliam.
The Giants were very Prometheus, like Ridley Scott Prometheus. But yeah, I don't know. I liked being able to sit down and see something. And also it didn't, to me, the like slowness of it was really welcome in a way that I don't think a lot of people agree with me. I really liked just being in it. I thought it was a lot of fun and really not a lot of fun. That's a weird thing to say, but it was really pretty and like, it was
interesting.
Just a cool thing to be in. Yeah.
Interesting. And it's not for everyone. I'm so curious because they are kind of marketing it like it's a mainstream movie.
Yeah, they really are. And because the first couple trailers, I was going to say that earlier. The first couple trailers, I kind of was like, how did you guys not expect this to be what it was? Because like the first trailer, I was like, oh, this is going to be fucking bonkers. But lately they have been advertising it as like this is a regular movie with a full narrative. And I'm just like, no.
I was expecting a narrative. I really was.
Yeah, I was not. I was not at all. I recommend it. It's in theaters because the world is going absolutely crazy. Again, it'll probably be streaming sooner than later if you want to wait, but it is currently in theaters. I recommend it based on your own psychological feelings.
For me, this is very intuition based. If you think you might like this movie, let me put it this way. If you think you'd be interested in this movie, you probably will.
Yeah.
If someone is trying to convince you that you should be interested in this movie,
probably not.
No.
Yeah.
You know, deep within if this is for you or not. You know, it's
way down.
That's the moral. That's the center. So cool. Bye. No.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I haven't done this in a minute. Yes, you can follow us on Twitter @SoI'mWatching or Instagram @SoI'mWatchingThisShow. As mentioned, we also have a Patreon, which is patreon.com/SoI'mWatchingThisShow. If you'd like to throw us a couple bucks, we would really appreciate that. And then we also have a website, soimwatching.com, which links out to everything. And if you would like and subscribe to this video and our channel.
15. Well, that's a lot for this.
We'll see. Maybe lots of people are going to watch this because no one knows what the fuck is going on. 15 likes. Let's do it. Okay.
You have chosen wisely.
Mortal Kombat.